Good morning, everybody. Today I want to show you how to fletch an arrow really easily, and I will be using the Pro Series Fletcher by BPE, and this one comes with a left helical clamp. So if you're going to use a straight or right helical clamp, make sure you have right wing feathers. And then of course for mine we'll just be using left wing feathers, and I'll show you how you tell the difference in a couple minutes. So let me show you what comes in the box, and then I'll show you how I set it up, and we'll fletch an arrow. So what you get in the box is of course your fletching jig, as well as your clamp, in my case a left helical clamp. And on the clamp you will have markers here towards the knock end, and that's where you're going to place the tail end of your feathers, so that way you can make sure that each feather is placed on at the same point on your arrow. You also get an Allen key, as well as some instructions here, and a chart to help you with some different styles of fletchings. So you know where to set the dial. So the first thing you want to do is, if you're just going to do a standard 3 fletch or 3 feathers, just make sure that all your pointers here are set at the right place. So for 3 fletch you just want to have it at 0, 120, and 240. Mine came that way. A couple of them were a little bit off, so it's always good to just go ahead and make sure that they are at the right point. Once you've got your pointers set up, go ahead and grab an arrow. Just make sure you have your top point set at the 0 mark. So go ahead and grab an arrow. And then what you want to do is we're going to set this dial here. And the setting is just going to depend on how thick or thin your arrow shaft is. In my case, I set it to a 19. You don't want it to be super tight, right? Don't force it in there. You just want to make sure it's at a slot that doesn't have any play in it. But if you do need to adjust it, actually you want to keep your arrow in there, just loosen this dial here until you can pull the wheel back, and then just rotate it until you find the right setting for your arrow, and then tighten it back up. Remember most of this is plastic, so you don't want to be over tightening any of the parts here. So once you've done that, we can go ahead and get our feathers ready. And today I'm going to be using these blue and white feathers. I think they're going to look really nice with the cresting for my arrows here. So go ahead and grab one of those. And the way to determine whether you have a left or right wing feather is just hold it upside down, so the quill facing you, and whichever way it curls is how you determine whether it's a left or a right wing. So if it curls to the left, it is a left wing feather, and if it curls to the right, you have a right wing feather. So grab our clamp. We're going to just place it in here. Don't worry about getting it perfectly lined up yet. You really just want to worry about your back end here. So make sure you have it lined up with whatever marker you want to set it to. And then turn it over, and I just like to give it a gentle push to get the rest of the fletching in. Go ahead and make sure it's all level. Give it a gentle push. Good. Okay. And for my arrows, I'm going to be using fletching tape. You can use glue if you want. Generally, I find glue to be a little bit too messy, and I'm not skilled enough to keep it clean. I know I would make a mess everywhere. So I've had no problem with shooting arrows that have just been fletched with tape. So we'll just go ahead and grab the tape here and just get it as centered on the quill as you can. And then once you've done that, just set it aside there so it doesn't tip over. Grab some scissors, and we're just going to give a little snip at the end, as close to the quill as you can. Okay, and then we'll just give the tape a gentle push along the feathers to make sure there's no gaps here. Okay. Put the tape and scissors aside. You won't need them for now. And then we're just going to go ahead and place it on the magnet. There's one more setting we need to do before we tape this down. Okay. So before we start sticking the feathers on, the last thing you want to check is your magnet bar here. You just want to adjust this until you get the base of your feather to sit as flush against your arrow shaft as possible. Don't worry, especially if you have longer feathers, don't worry if the front end isn't quite against your arrow shaft, as long as most of it is. This may take some trial and error for you, but if you're using carbon arrows with an insert and nock size of 5/16 or 9/32, you could probably use my settings here to get a fairly decent result. So from the nock end, I have it set, and I use this line here closest to the silver screw. From the nock end, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on the front end, again using that same line closest to the silver screw here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 from the right on the front end and 7 from the right on the tail end. And so once you have that set, we can go ahead and fletch this arrow. Alright, so just make sure you've locked your indexing head in place. Only turn it counterclockwise. This is what BPE recommends. So always turn it towards you. You just hear that little click. Make sure it doesn't move. And then go ahead and place your arrow in there. There is a groove or slot, sorry, for the nock. So just make sure it's centered in there. Good to go. Now I shoot thumb release, so I don't really need to worry about having a lead feather. So all my feathers are going to be the same color. But if you want to have a lead feather, make it the third feather you put on, especially if you're using wooden or bamboo arrows with self nocks, or you're using glued on nocks. But if you're just using press and nocks, it doesn't really matter, because you can just take the nock out and rotate it to wherever you need it to be after the fact. So just grab your feather here, place it on, make sure you push the clamp as far back as it can go, and then we're just going to lift it up here a little bit so it sits on the top side of the magnet, which is a nice feature. I don't know if that design was accidental or on purpose. Just going to pull some of these strands off here. They bother me. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Okay. Alright, so you can just use your fingernails if you want. I prefer to use a pair of tweezers. We're just going to peel the backing off the tape here. And then very slowly we're going to bring the clamp back down towards the arrow shaft. Don't place it on until you have it straight. And press it down. Now don't worry if the front end is still lifted off a little bit. Just make sure the back end is on first. And then just give it a very gentle press on the front end of the clamp there until you see the tip of the feather stick on, and as you lift back up you'll see that the feather is staying. And then once you've done that, just very slowly and gently lift the clamp off. I prefer to start from the front end of the clamp and just peel it back slowly, and that's it. So then I just like to go along the quill and just give it a gentle press across to make sure that the tape is on there. And then that's it. That's one feather done. So we're going to go ahead and rotate it and do the next feather and follow the exact same steps. Just give it a gentle push until you hear the click, rotate it to the next one, and then lock in that pointer head. We'll grab our next feather and we'll do the same thing again. Alright guys, so that is one fully fletched arrow with a left helical twist. And I think these feathers are just so pretty. And the reason I mentioned before about making your lead feather, if you want one, the third feather you do is so that it lines up with the knock. You can focus there. So when I go to place this on the string, that lead feather is going to sit perfectly on either the left or the right side of the bow, whichever you prefer. Now of course, if you're just using press-in knocks, it doesn't matter because you can just take the knock out, rotate it to wherever you need to be. And because I'm only using tape, I don't have to wait for this to dry or cure. I could go out and shoot this right now if I wanted. But yeah, so I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.